How do you know the word if you don't know the word? Welcome to the YouTube. I want to welcome everybody to this video. Today we're going to be talking about words. And did you know that the Bible said in the beginning was the word? Yes, of course you did, but what does that mean? Um, well, every everything that you create, everything that you produce, everything that you do, a word is present in the very beginning, meaning you have to speak before you start your business, or you even have to think before you start your business, to before you start talking to that girl, before you start talking to that boy or man, or if you're thinking about asking her to marry you, you have to think. Did you know that you can't even think without words? To think, it requires words. Your mind requires words. And words are so incredibly powerful. And we're going to get into them today. I know this video is not for everyone, but it will reach the ones that it's supposed to. And I'm grateful for that. What is a word? What is a word? Well, a word is an invention, actually. Humans invented language in order to describe existence. And instead of like describing existence in big long paragraphs, we condensed it. Instead of saying there's this mammal with big claws and big long teeth and he's brown, he has a long lot of fur or hair on his head, it kind of runs down his back. He growls, he licks his fur, he licks his paws sometimes, he runs, he eats deer and other animals. It's kind of interesting watching this mammal. Okay, so with all of that, we could just say, oh, look, there's a lion. Look at that lion over there. Now, a lion has a definition. The word is defined, and definitions support the word. Definitions are a way that we humans have created to explain a type of word that represents a piece of existence. And words are so immensely powerful, you simply don't know. They influence everything. Have anybody ever had like a cuticle, like that skin that is like right there on your nails? Now, I know I'm a little older, so I don't pull my cuticles. Now I know that there's cuticle cream that will take care of that, or you can just go get a manicure and the technicians will take care of you, you know. But words influence you, okay? And how? Um, when I say apple and I hold up this comb, I say, "Hey, look at my apple." I hold this up. You might understand that in fact is not an apple. What will you do? You will open your mouth and you will correct me. You will say, "Kyle, that's not an apple. That's a cone. That's a pick," you know. And yes, in fact, I do understand it is a pick. I use it to pick out my beard so I don't, get matted, because unkempt hair turns into matted hair. You don't want that. So, um, these words have influence, because if I said apple, you expected an apple, but what if you didn't know or had any knowledge of what an apple actually was? You would not have known what an apple actually is. So if I said, here's my apple, you would then forever, until you were corrected by somebody, assume apples were what I just showed you. You would teach your kids, you would jump on social media and kind of teach everybody that way. And what ends up happening is it creates confusion. It creates generational curses. And it all started from that little small cuticle called a definition. That little small thing called a word. And it's just so interesting. It's just so interesting to see how people live their life. And but I want to get into, how do we find definitions? How do we find a definition? Well, there's another invention called dictionaries. Even though definitions were humans' first technology, that's the first technology that humans created. Definitions. Before fire, before cars, before rubber, before any of that, before chocolate, before the printing press, it was definitions. Why? Because we had to communicate somehow. And it might not have started off as English, but it started off in some language. It may not have even been sound. We may have, or like verbal language. It may have just been claps. 2 claps means I'm hungry. But we find the explanation of words called definitions inside of books called dictionaries. And there are many types of dictionaries. And you might not understand what they are, but I'm here to tell you what they are. So there's a type of dictionary, it's called a modern dictionary. This is like your Webster's dictionary. In modern dictionaries, so all dictionaries are wonderful. They are here to tell you what many people agreed on, what a type or a piece of existence actually is. We are trying to describe and paint a picture of what a type of existence actually is. That's called a definition, okay? So a lot of people agree in all of these different dictionaries about the definition of many different words. Now, the modern dictionary is like a Webster's dictionary, but the modern dictionary, it moves with the current time. So this is why it's called modern. If you look up the word nice in a Webster's dictionary today, you'll see like the word pleasing, or whatever else, So nice means something now, but if you looked at it, if a Webster's dictionary existed 200 years ago, 300 years ago, and the word nice was in there, you would not see the same exact definition. Now, I see that it's great, okay? It's great, but if you're looking for truth, if you're looking for the absolute concrete truth about a word, a definition, using things that change in the moment might not be best practice. Just saying. Next, the next type of dictionary is like your thesaurus. Your thesaurus is a type of dictionary that doesn't really give the definition of the word, but it gives words or definitions that are opposite of what this word means, of the current word that you are searching, and things that are actually very similar. So for example, if I'm looking up the word apple inside of a thesaurus, what would happen is there would be synonyms and antonyms. Okay? A synonym is, I think you can kind of understand or guess, but it's a word that is similar in definition. Not the same, but it's similar. So if I look up apple, a synonym will be fruit. Okay, fruit is similar to what apple is, because apple is a fruit, but fruit includes apple in what it already is. So that's a synonym. An antonym is the opposite. So an opposite of fruit might be, I don't know, vegetable, corn, squash, you know. It was about 20 years old. Side note, it was about 20 years old before I understood that a tomato was a fruit. Isn't that wild? I did not understand that. A tomato is a fruit. It tastes like a vegetable, but it's probably because I thought it was a vegetable this whole time. Anyway, so that's a thesaurus. Next, okay, your next dictionary is a dictionary that pertains to legal environments. The law dictionary. So a type of, or an example of a legal dictionary is called the Black's Law Dictionary. And this is great. It gives you the definition of the piece of existence of courtroom activity. So, and I don't know much about courts and all this crazy stuff, but I do, or I've heard on social media that if you, you saying to the judge that I understand, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, I understand you. That means that you are now under the jurisdiction of the court. You now are being owned by the court. They can possess you. They can search your phone. I don't know if that's true or not. I have no clue if it's true or not. And honestly, I don't care. But that is the law dictionary. Okay. Side note, or let backtrack a little bit. A thesaurus is always modern as well. Just like modern dictionaries are modern and they display the current time. Thesauruses also do the same thing. So if you buy a thesaurus that was 20, 50 years old, you will get the definitions from that time period. Okay? Same with modern dictionaries. You get the same definitions from that time period. Then we have biblical dictionaries. Okay? Dictionaries in the Bible or biblical dictionaries exist only to allow you to understand what the writer, what the author of that current book in the Bible, whether if it's Ecclesiastes or the Psalms or whatever, what the author, when he was writing it, what was he going through? Where in the world was he? Was he in heaven or hell? What possessed him to write this? It's more of a why this is here versus the actual definition. Now, biblical dictionaries do also give the definition, but it really doesn't focus on that. It focuses more on the author. Like why did Solomon say this? Well, because he was probably doing this and that and this and that and this and that, right? Whatever. Okay. So now that we have that, we have encyclopedias. Encyclopedias are just a series of dictionaries that try to capture all of the words in that in the thing. Okay. So encyclopedias are never just one book. They're usually, 10 to 12 books. And of course they go in alphabetical order, but they, give all the words that they can fathom to even come up with that belong underneath A, underneath B, underneath C. And speaking about alphabets, we're going to get into that in just a moment. So, with that being said, now we have the final dictionary that I find most useful when you are trying to manifest, when you are understanding what the beginning, what the intent of anything actually is. It's etymology. And etymology is, well, the word etymology, excuse me, I'm stuttering. Etymology means truth. It means truth. Okay? So when you are, well, so let me just describe it. So the etymological dictionary exists so that people can discover where the word came from, how it progressed over human history, like how did it start, in what language, and how it progressed over human history, and how it's being used today. So etymology is the best all-encompassing capture of what words represent. So for example, the word nice, earlier in the video, I mentioned the word nice. Well, the word nice in the etymology, it means stupid. It means to not know. It means that you are stupid. Be nice, okay? And it gives context, okay? The etymology dictionary, it gives context like, oh, well, the word nice was used most in, let's just say, it was used most in the 1800s. And it was used most in Great Britain. And of course, this is just an example. I have no clue. And, it was used most in Great Britain by kings when they saw the court gesture. Actually, that part is true. Nice came from the observation of court gestures, how foolish they were, how unknowing they were, how aloof they were. So the king said, oh, look how nice they are, meaning how stupid they are, how much that they don't know. So if you are ever looking for the root word of a word, go to etymology. It's online. There's plenty of free stuff online. There's plenty of paid stuff, hard copies, printouts that you can get anywhere. Okay? So let's talk about alphabets now. We're going to talk about alphabets. So alphabets exist in every single language. Okay? Every single language. Every single language has an alphabet. And an alphabet is just an organized aggregation of characters used in that particular culture. So it's like their tool for communication. So how can you tell me, how do you speak? How do you communicate? Well, you use words. How do you form those words? With characters. How do you form the characters? Well, from the alphabet. And every last culture, every single culture on planet Earth has an alphabet. So the United States, our country language is English, and English has an alphabet. If you were in Great Britain, I think they have English too. Like their country language, official language, is also English. Okay? And no language is better than the other. I'm not saying that. So every alphabet has a character, and characters tell a story. So when you are forming words, you have to place every letter. In the United States, we call them letters, but what they are, they're actually characters. So we place characters side by side, and each character has a purpose. In every alphabet, each character has a purpose. So the word the are three characters, T-H-E, and their purpose is the, okay, the. And I don't know the actual definition of the word the, but there's a reason why the T, H, and the E are side by side. So in Hebrew, okay, in Hebrew, what ends up happening is they write or they form their words in such a manner that every character actually is like it builds on itself. It tells its own story. And it's actually a very beautiful language. So when you form words, when you put characters side by side to form words, there's a definition for that too. It's called spelling. That's called spelling. And I'm not trying to at all talk down to you. But it's probably something you never even thought about. You never even thought you needed to think about it. Why? Because it's you seem that you probably think that this part of your life is just really efficient. So you don't care to think this deeply about it. But this part of your life, it's been intentionally overlooked. You've been tricked to intentionally overlook it. Why? Because whenever you speak, you are casting the spell. Remember, putting characters side by side is called spelling. When you are speaking, this is a literal, you are casting the spell. So spells exist on two spectrums, holy and demonic. You can either bless somebody or you can curse somebody. So what I mean by that is you can say, "Oh, you are so kind to me. Thank you so much, Kyle." Or you can say, "Kyle, you don't know what you're talking about. You're stupid." Okay, you can either curse me or you can bless me. There's nothing in between. Okay, there's nothing in between. Just like, for example, if somebody asked you, what do you think about racism? And you are silent, that's not good. Okay, open your mouth and speak. If somebody asks you the same question and then you say out of your mouth, "I don't really think about it. It's not anything that matters to me." So that answer too is not good. Not taking a stance is not good. That's sloth. That's lazy. And okay, I'm not gonna get too far into that. But when you cast out these words, they are so powerful. You didn't know you actually hypnotize people when you speak. You hypnotize people as you are speaking. You have to, because I don't know why. Because like because I don't know why it happens, but I know that it happens. But we call that listening. Listening is actually a state of hypnosis. You are being hypnotized when you listen. Now you are still able to do things. Yes, you are still able to do things. You can move around. You can, you know, tend to your children. You can do homework to an extent. You can work out. You can do whatever. Excuse me. But what ends up happening is when they speak, when they say hello, you have to stop and decide if you're going to respond. You can decide not to respond. Okay. You can decide to respond. Okay. Both are your decision. So I think that's all that I'm going to say about words. But words are immensely powerful. They shape your life. They not only shape your life, they have the ability to address God directly. You know, you have the ability to open your mouth and say, "Thank you, God." Do you think an ant has that ability? A dog? A giraffe? No, they don't. But let me know what you guys think about this stuff in the comment section. If you are interested, I definitely have a lot of resources down in the description below. Okay, do all the YouTube stuff if you would. Like, subscribe, and comment. Or you can just send this to somebody that you think needs to hear it. Okay? Now, if you didn't know, now you know.